All right, I see people are entering the room. Slowly but surely, people are entering. I appreciate everybody being timely. This is a very, very important topic, and obviously it's an open season related topic, so this is very timely. I see more people are entering the room, so I'm just going to give it a few more moments, let more people enter, and then we're going to kick off and get started. Very, very juicy topic. Almost there, almost there. Almost there. All right, welcome everybody. Welcome, and thank you very much for joining me on this very, very important topic about FSA versus HSA. This is certainly open season related topic, so I hope you guys are ready to make some very important, very valuable decisions just based upon this small segment that we have together today. Before I dive into the material, I first want to give a thank you to those who are my clients and my members. As I'm sure you guys have heard from me many times, these classes, they do not happen in a vacuum. They happen because I have people that are supporting me. Those are my clients, those are my members. So if you know somebody who's a client or a member of mine, give them a hug and say thank you to them. And if you would like to become a client or a member, I'm going to show you how to do so at the end of today's presentation. Fantastic, amazing. Okay, so let us talk about the FSA and the HSA. Starting off with the FSA, I'm sure you guys know that the FSA, there's a healthcare FSA, there's a dependent care FSA, and those allow you to pay for your healthcare and dependent care with tax-free money. Tax-free. What do I mean by tax-free? So that means you're going to be saving federal tax, state tax, Social Security tax, Medicare tax. If you add all these taxes together, so let's say on the federal level, your top tax bracket, I'm just guessing for most of us, is going to be 24%. And then on the state level, obviously it depends which state you live in, but let's say state, local, all that together, 6%. And then you have Social Security, 6.2%. And then you have Medicare, 1.45%. If you add those together, that's 37.65% taxation. So let's do the math on this. Let's say you're contributing to the FSA and the maximum FSA contribution was just increased. Last year it was $3,200. As you guys can see on the slide, it's now $3,300 going to 2025, $3,300. So let's say you're participating in the maximum, $3,300, and you're saving 37.65% on that money. Well, that will save you $1,242 in taxes. So basically, you have a choice. You could run your medical expenses through the FSA and save money in taxes, or you could run your medical expenses not through FSA, and you won't save money on taxes. So obviously, if anybody in this room is expecting to have medical expenses, prescription expenses, okay, dental, vision expenses, you could run those expenses through the FSA and save you on taxes. It's a pretty solid vehicle. And as I mentioned, there's the healthcare FSA. The healthcare FSA that covers your deductibles, your co-insurances, your co-pays. It also covers medications, prescription and non-prescription, dental, vision, chiropractic, acupuncture. This is very well known. However, this is not so well known. The Lex FSA. Have you guys ever heard of this thing called the Lex FSA? Right? One of the best kept secrets in the federal government, the Lex FSA. Lex stands for limited expense. It's an FSA that only covers limited expenses. Which expenses? Specifically, dental and vision. It only covers dental and vision expenses, which is very strange. Why do I need a Lex FSA for dental and vision? I thought dental and vision was already covered with the original FSA, wasn't it? As we can see over here. The original FSA already covered dental and vision. So why do I need a Lex FSA to cover dental and vision when it was already covered with the original FSA? That's a great question. Let me strengthen the question. As you guys can see on the bottom over here, you cannot have a regular FSA together with a Lex FSA. You cannot do them both at the same time. You have to choose one over the other. So if I gave you the choice, which one would you choose? Would you choose the Lex FSA that only covers dental and vision? Or would you choose the regular FSA, which covers dental and vision and everything else? I know it's a tough choice, isn't it? Let me strengthen the question even further. As you can see in the bottom over here, in order to have a Lex FSA, you must be enrolled in an HDHP. Does anybody know what that stands for, HDHP? High Deductible Health Plan. In order to have a Lex FSA, you must be enrolled in a high deductible plan. What about a regular FSA? Do you need to have a high deductible plan for regular FSA? No, you could have whatever plan you wish. And remember, you can't do both. You're going to have to choose one over the other. So if I gave you the choice, which one would you choose? Would you choose the Lex FSA that forces you to have a high deductible plan? Or would you choose the regular FSA that lets you have whatever plan you wish? Would you choose the Lex FSA that only covers dental and vision? Or would you choose the regular FSA, which covers dental and vision and everything else? Who in their right mind would choose a Lex FSA over a regular FSA? Believe it or not, there's a fantastic answer to this question. Fantastic answer. And in order to appreciate the answer to this question, I have to introduce you guys to something which works just like FSA, only it has many, many, many advantages. What is this other thing that works just like FSA but has many advantages? It's called the HSA. The HSA, the Health Savings Account. The HSA is just like the FSA. You put your money into that account, and whatever money you put in reduces your taxable income, just like FSA. And you could use that money for medical, prescription, dental, vision, just like FSA. So really, this is just like FSA. However, listen to all the advantages that the HSA has over the FSA. Number one, you could contribute more money. How much more money? So if you guys can see over here, it actually depends whether you have a self-only versus a self+1 family plan. If you have a self-only plan, you could put $4,300. If you have a self+1 family plan, you could put $8,550. And remember, any money that you're putting in, you're going to be saving 37.65% taxation. Oh, by the way, for those that are age 55 plus, you could do a catch-up contribution of $1,000. So that means instead of $4,300, you could contribute $5,300. Instead of $8,550, you could contribute $9,550, $9,550. And remember, you're going to be saving 37.65% taxes on that $95,050. So what does that translate into? That translates into over $3,000 of tax savings. Wow, that's pretty impressive. But I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Stefan, but what if I don't have $9,550 of medical expenses? What happens to the leftover money? I don't want to have all that money use or lose. Well, I have good news for you, because with the HSA, there's no use or lose. Now that's a game changer, okay? Because what this means is you could intentionally max out your HSA, putting in the full $9,550, knowing full well you're not going to use that money. And guess what? There's no use or lose. Whatever money is left over, it just rolls over into the next year. As opposed to the FSA has a use or lose. You're allowed to carry over $660 into the next year, but anything beyond the $660 is use or lose. That's a game changer. That is humongous. Oh my goodness, and it gets even sweeter. As you guys can see in the next bullet point, there's no account maximum, which means you can make new contributions on top of prior unused contributions. So for example, let's say this year you put in $9,550, next year you put in $9,550, the following year you put in $9,550, that money could be accumulating inside your HSA. Remember, no use or lose. Oh, and it gets even sweeter. Your account balance can be invested. which means not only is your HSA growing with your own contributions, but it's also growing with market performance. I know some people that have over $100,000 of tax-free money in their HSA, 6 figures of tax-free money in their HSA. This is unbelievable. Oh my goodness, and it gets even sweeter. The HSA gives you access to a broader range of qualified expenses, meaning there are some expenses that are not considered qualified expenses for FSA, but they are, yes, qualified for HSA. I'll give you a couple of my favorite examples. Long-term care insurance premiums. Now, whether you should have long-term care insurance or not, that's a separate discussion. That's not for now. But if you decided that you want to have long-term care insurance, you could pay those insurance premiums tax-free with your HSA money. That is a qualified expense for HSA, but that's not a qualified expense for FSA. Also, Medicare premiums. Now, whether you should have Medicare with your FEHB, that's a separate discussion, okay? But I really want to have that discussion as well, but that's not for today. But if you decided that you want to have Medicare with your FEHB, you could pay those Medicare premiums with tax-free money from your HSA. That's not a qualified expense for FSA, but that's, yes, a qualified expense for HSA. Unbelievable. Oh, and it gets even sweeter. You can access and contribute to your HSA in retirement. Let me say that again. You could both access the money that's in your HSA and you could contribute new money into your HSA in retirement. Now think about that. What's one of those expenses that seems to go up as people get older and later in life? Isn't it the healthcare, the medical related expenses? If a person has a healthcare or medical related expense in retirement, can they use their FSA to pay for that expense in retirement? And their answer is no. Once you retire, there is no more FSA once you retire. However, your HSA, you can access and contribute to your HSA even in retirement. Now, let's give another example. Let's say a person has a medical expense in retirement, so they don't have the FSA. But what about their TSB? Can't they tap into their TSB in retirement? Sure, of course you could. And if you took a distribution from your traditional TSB in retirement to pay for your medical expenses, would you owe taxes on that distribution from your TSB? And the answer is, of course you would. Of course you would. However, HSA, you can access your HSA for medical expenses tax-free whenever, either before retirement or after retirement. Oh my goodness. And it gets even sweeter. Once you reach the age of 65, you could start using your HSA money for non-medical expenses. What do I mean by non-medical expenses? For example, you want to buy yourself a new car, you could use your HSA for that. You want to take a vacation, you could use your HSA for that. You want to pay for your groceries and your utilities, you could use your HSA for that. Now, before we get too excited about those examples I just gave, those examples, those were not considered qualifying medical expenses. So if it's not a qualified medical expense, you're going to owe income tax on that. Okay, fine. So I'll owe income tax. That's no worse than my TSB. If I took a distribution from my TSB to buy a car, to take a vacation, to pay for my utilities, I would owe income tax on that as well if it's my traditional TSB. So my HSA is no worse than my TSB. It just has the added advantage that I could use this money tax-free anytime for medical expenses. Pre-retirement, post-retirement, right? Unbelievable. Oh, and if you guys have seen the bottom bullet point, you could get reimbursed in retirement for medical expenses from decades earlier. So for example, let's say you had a medical expense in 2025. You have the choice. You could pay that medical expense from your own pocket, or you could pay that medical expense from your HSA. If you pay it from your own pocket, you could submit for reimbursement from your HSA later when you retire, and this way you get additional tax-free income in retirement. Oh my goodness. Are you guys hearing this? What I'm describing over here is FSA on steroids. Who in their right mind would not do this? So believe it or not, I have 3 people who wouldn't and 1 who shouldn't. Let's start with the 3 people who wouldn't do this. Category number 1, those who didn't know about it. Okay, that's number one. Number two, those who were scared away when they saw this, that the HSA requires an HDHP. Ooh. Does anybody remember what does HDHP stand for? High deductible health plan. High deductible health plan. In order to have an HSA, you must be enrolled in a high deductible plan. Now, before we get into high deductible versus low deductible, does anybody even know what is a deductible? What does that even mean, deductible? So a deductible is the amount of money that you have to pay out of your pocket first before the insurance starts paying anything out of their pocket. So what that means is if you have a low deductible, you'll have to pay a little bit out of your pocket first, and then the insurance kicks in. However, if you have a high deductible, you'll have to pay more out of your pocket, and the insurance will kick in later. Now, how high does a deductible need to be in order to count as a high deductible plan? So this is the limit that the IRS sets, okay? The IRS sets this limit, and it actually depends whether you have a self-only or a self-plus-one family. On the self-only, it is $1,600, excuse me, $1,600, if I remember correctly. $1,600. That is the deductible on the self-only plan. On the self-plus-one family plan, it is $3,200. You know what this means? This means if you have medical expenses in a given year, you're going to be on the hook for the first $3,200 of medical expenses that year. Now, when people hear that, they say, I don't know, Stefan, that seems really, really scary, really risky. I don't know. It sounds really scary. You know what? When you investigate it, it's not as scary as you think. I'll tell you why. Because when you have a high deductible plan with any of your insurance, this is really not just for health insurance. This is true for any insurance. When you raise your deductible on your insurances, what does that do to the cost of the insurance? It lowers the premiums. And it doesn't just lower your premiums by a little bit. You know, it's not like $1 a pay period or $2 a pay period. No. Sometimes it's very substantial, like $50 a pay period or $100 a pay period, or as I will show you, even more than $100 per pay period. So let's do the math. If you're saving $100 per pay period, how much are you saving over 26 pay periods? Let's see, $100 times 26 pay periods, that's $2,600 of savings. Remind me again, what was your deductible? $3,200 deductible. So that means you have a $3,200 deductible, but you're saving $2,600. So what's your real exposure there? That $600 difference? I know, that's really, really scary. Oh, and by the way, when you have a high deductible plan with FEHB, not only do they lower your premiums, but they even give you money back. I'm not joking. They open up an HSA account for you and they put money into that HSA account for you to access. How much money will they put into your HSA? So it actually depends on whether you have a self-only versus a self-plus-one family. On the self-only side, $900 a year. On the self-plus-one family side, $1,800 a year. So let's keep track of the savings. If you're saving $100 per pay period, that's $2,600 a year. And then they're going to give you back an additional $1,800. So $2,600 plus $1,800, what does that equal to? $4,400 in savings? I know. That's very scary, isn't it? Oh, and by the way, when you're adding up all your savings, don't forget to include the thousands of dollars of tax savings. Remember, we said that if you're participating $9,550 into your HSA, you're going to be saving over $3,000 in tax savings. So if you add $3,000 to the mix, now your savings, instead of being $4,400, now it's $7,400 in savings. I know. It's so scary. What am I going to do with all this money? We have completely lost sight as to why we have insurance. Completely lost sight. Let me share with you how far our thinking has come. So I live in Maryland right now, but I'm originally from New York. Is there anybody here that's from the New York area? New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area? If you're from the tri-state area, you will know what I'm talking about over here. The cost of insurance in the tri-state area is very expensive. I'll put it in perspective. When I was in New York, this was 20 years ago, I was paying $10,000 a year for my health insurance plan. $10,000 a year. Isn't that more than what you guys are paying right now? Yeah, it's more than what you guys are paying right now. So I was paying $10,000 a year for my health insurance. By the way, listen to this. I have a brother that lives in Connecticut. His employer does not provide health insurance, so he has to buy his own health insurance plan for his family. He has a regular plan, nothing fancy, nothing fancy. Does anybody here want to guess how much his health insurance plan is costing him per year? $33,000 a year. Let that sink in. $33,000. Anyhow, so when I was in New York, this was 20 years ago, paying $10,000 a year for health insurance, I moved down to Maryland, and that's when I discovered these high deductible plans. And the high deductible plan that I discovered, the premium was $4,000. So instead of $10,000 a year, it's only $4,000 a year, which means I'm saving $6,000 a year in savings. I was tickled pink. I was very excited. I signed up right away. I introduced this to some of my friends. They were also very excited. They signed up right away. I'll never forget, I had a couple of friends approach me and listen to their criticism of these high deductible plans because it reveals how far our thinking has come. So one friend approaches me and they says, Stefan, I have to admit, these high deductible plans, they bother me. I said, why? What bothers you? He says, I'll tell you what bothers me. Every time I go to the doctor, I have to pay something towards the visit. You know, either $30 copay or $100 for the examination or the $150 for the x-rays or $180 for the lab work. Stefan, when I was in New York, I never had to reach into my pocket for anything. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I looked at this person and I said, okay, let me just make sure I'm clear on what you're saying. So what you're saying is reaching into your pocket for the $30 copay, that bothers you. But paying $6,000 more in premiums, you're okay with that? And I love the way he said it to me. He said, Stefan, when I was in New York, I never had to reach into my pocket for anything. I said, really? Whose pocket did this $6,000 in premiums come from? Oh my goodness, did you not even realize that? That was the first conversation. It was very revealing. But I had another conversation with a different friend at a different time and listened to their critique. They said, Stefan, I have to admit, these high deductible plans, they bother me. I say, why? What could possibly bother you? He says, I'll tell you what bothers me. I never reach my deductible. So it turns out that I'm paying for this insurance, but the insurance never pays a penny for me. So why do I have this insurance? I looked at this person, I said, that's a great question. Why do you have the insurance? Please tell me, do you have the insurance so that when you get a paper cut, the insurance will pay for the ointment and the Band-Aid for your boo-boo? Is that why you have insurance for little boo-boos? You tell me. You tell me. Why do you have insurance? Is it for little boo-boos? Is that why you have it? If anything, it's for the big boo-boos. And I'll let you guys in on a dirty little secret. Every one of your FEHB plans has something called an out-of-pocket maximum. That is the catastrophic limit. That's for the big boo-boos. Okay? I want you to look at your out-of-pocket maximum, your catastrophic limit, and I want you to compare it to the out-of-pocket maximum on some of these high deductible plans. And you know what you may discover? You may discover that some of these high deductible plans have an out-of-pocket maximum which is lower than the plan that you're in right now. You know, don't take my word for it. I'll show you. I'll show you. Here, look, let's look together. Okay. I'm going to pull up a web page that you guys may recognize. And by the way, I'm going to share with you guys a link to this page. I'm going to put this link in the chat box. Here it comes in the chat box. Here it comes. 1, 2, 3. Bang. Okay. You recognize this web page? This is the OPM healthcare comparison page. This is where you get to compare all the plans. And guess what? We have the new plans, the 2025 plans already updated. So let's enter our numbers. So I live in Maryland, so 21209. Okay, and I'm not an active federal employee, but just click on active federal employee, biweekly, and then search, and you will see all the plans that are in your zip code. Okay, check this out. Check this out. Now you'll notice on this page right over here, there's something called the out-of-pocket maximum. Out-of-pocket maximum. And some of these plans have a relatively high out-of-pocket maximum. So for example, $1,500 on this first plan, that's a relatively high out-of-pocket maximum. Okay. But the next plan has a lower out-of-pocket maximum. Okay, fine. Let's keep on going. I want to show you guys something specific over here. So let's go to this plan right over here. Yes, this plan right over here. The Blue Cross Blue Shield Standard Plan. Are you guys familiar with this plan, the Blue Cross Blue Shield Standard Plan? I'm pretty sure this is the most popular plan in the federal government. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some people on this webinar right now that have this Blue Cross Blue Shield Standard Plan. And what is the cost of the Blue Cross Blue Shield Standard Plan? So it actually depends whether you're a self-only or self+1 or family. If you have a self-only, it's $174 per pay period. Self+1, $384. Family plan, $424 per pay period. Okay, this is a very popular plan. I want you to compare this plan to this plan right over here. The Care First Blue Choice HDHP. This is the Blue Cross Blue Shield Network. If you are in the Maryland area, I think also also DC and Northern Virginia as well, may also have this as well. Okay, so if you're in the Maryland area, this is the Blue Cross Blue Shield Network in the Maryland area. And what is the cost? So as you guys can see, self-only, self+1 on the family plan. So in the family plan, it's $205 per pay period. $205 per pay period as opposed to $424 per pay period. 1 second, let's do the math. 424 minus 205, how much are you saving every single pay period? You'll be saving $219 per pay period. If I multiply that by 26 pay periods, what does that equal to? $5,694 a year. Oh my goodness. $5,694 a year. That's the premium savings. Oh, and by the way, as I mentioned, when you have a high deductible plan with FEHB, they give you money back. How much do they give you back? $1,800. So that means in addition to the $5,600, you have an additional $1,800. That's $7,494 in savings. And by the way, don't forget that if you're participating in the HSA and you're putting in $9,550 and you're saving 37.65% in taxes, what does that equal to? That equals $3,595. So let's add it together. $3,595. What does that equal to? That equals $11,000 in savings. Oh my goodness. And ready for the cherry on top? If you had the Blue Cross Blue Shield Standard Plan, what would be your out-of-pocket maximum, the catastrophic limit? $12,000. As opposed to the high deductible plan, your out-of-pocket maximum is lower. Lower. Oh my goodness. Are you guys seeing what's going on over here? What we just discovered is we have a choice, right? Our choice is we could choose the high deductible plan. It will save us thousands of dollars of premiums. They're going to give us back money. It'll save us $1,000 in taxes. All told, the savings is going to be around $11,000. And it lowers your catastrophic exposure. You could do that. Oh, and by the way, once you do the high deductible plan, it gives you access to all the benefits of the HSA. So you could do that, or nah, I'm just going to stick with the standard plan. Yeah. I know that I would have saved $11,000, but that's okay. I'm fine not saving $11,000. Oh, and not having the HSA. I'm fine not having the HSA benefits. Are you seeing how outrageous this is? Let me ask you a different question. If you're going to be doing the standard plan over the high deductible plan, is the standard plan going to be giving you $11,000 a year? Where's the number? $11,000 a year of additional benefits above the high deductible plan? Let me say that again. Is the standard plan going to give you $11,000 a year of benefits beyond what you would have gotten from the high deductible plan? And the answer is no, it's impossible because the high deductible plan has an out-of-pocket maximum of $11,000. It's impossible. It's impossible because you'll never have more than $11,000 expenses. Oh, and by the way, when I show you that the family plan out-of-pocket maximum is $11,000, that's the family as a whole. Do you know what each individual of the family has for an out-of-pocket? Each individual has a lower out-of-pocket threshold. It's usually half. So instead of being $11,000, it's going to be $5,500 per individual. So for example, let's say in a person's family, they have one member of their family that has all the medical problems, all the medical issues. So when that one person reaches $5,500, they've already maxed out for the year. Anything beyond $5,500 is going to be free. When I say free, it's going to be covered by the health insurance entirely. Oh my goodness. You know what? Let me give you another example, because I know that many of you are not in the Maryland, D.C. Area, so you may not have access to this Care First Blue Choice high deductible plan. I understand. Let me go to another plan. Right over here. The GIHA plan. This is a national plan, the GIHA national plan. This is the GIHA high deductible plan. And what is the cost per pay period? $201. So instead of 424 minus 205, it's 424 minus 201. What does that save you per pay period? 223 times 26 pay periods. That's $5,700. And this plan gives you $2,000 back. $2,000 back. So if you add $2,000 back, that brings your total to $7,700. And don't forget the tax savings. The tax savings are $3,595. So if you add an additional $3,595, what does that equal to? $11,300. Oh my goodness. Are we seeing what's going on over here? Is your plan giving you $11,300 of additional benefits beyond what you could have gotten with the GIHA high deductible plan? And the answer is no, it's impossible. Because the GIHA high deductible plan, you're right, the out-of-pocket is $12,000. But let me remind you, on the individual level, it's only half of that. It's only $6,000. Are we seeing what's going on over here? So again, who wouldn't do a HSA, right? And the answer is, I have three people who wouldn't, one who shouldn't. The three people who wouldn't, number one, those who didn't know about it. Fine. Number two, those who were scared away when they saw it requires an HDHP. However, as we just discovered, a high deductible plan is really not as scary as it sounds for a number of reasons. Number one, lower premiums. Number two, they give you money back. Number three, there's the tax savings of your HSA contributions. Number four, lower catastrophic limits. So who's the third person that would not do an HSA? And the answer is those who are not eligible because they're enrolled in Medicare. Which Medicare, Steph? And I heard that there's different parts of Medicare. Which part are you referring to? And I'm referring to any part of Medicare, even Part A, even the free Part A. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Stefan, no, I thought Part A was free. So what could possibly be wrong with free? This is what's wrong with even the free Part A. It costs you your ability to contribute new money into your HSA. So it turns out that Part A is not entirely free. There's a little gotcha. It costs you your ability to contribute new money into your HSA. Now, don't get me wrong. Once you have Medicare Part A, and by the way, everybody in this room is going to have Medicare Part A. Do you know when? It's when you're 65 years old and collecting Social Security. So you have to have both of those ingredients. You have to be collecting Social Security and 65 years old. If you have both of those ingredients, you're going to have Medicare Part A. And since you all are going to have Social Security at some point, that means at some point, you're going to be enrolled in Medicare Part A, which means you cannot contribute new money to HSA. So what I'm trying to emphasize over here is that the party ends when you get Medicare, which for many people is going to be age 65. So this is a limited time offer. Act now while supplies last. even if you could only do it for 1 year or 2 years. I know it sounds minimal, but you know what? What's wrong with saving $5,000, $7,000, $11,000 for that 1 year? What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. Oh, and by the way, let me say another thing. Even if you have Medicare, let's say you have Medicare with your FEHB. So if you have Medicare, you can no longer contribute new money into your HSA. Okay, so once you can no longer contribute new money to HSA, so does it make sense to have a high deductible plan anymore if you can no longer contribute new money to HSA? And the answer is, of course it makes sense. Even if you have Medicare, it still makes sense to have a high deductible plan for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's cheaper. As I just showed you, the high deductible plans they cost you less. So if you're going to have FEHB with your Medicare, why should you have an expensive FEHB plan? Why don't you just have a less expensive FEHB plan? That's number one. Number two is, if you have a high deductible plan, you're right, you're not allowed to contribute money into an HSA, but remember, the plan gives you money to spend. They're still going to give you that money to spend. They're not going to put that money into an HSA. It's going to put it into an HRA, health reimbursement arrangement, which I'm not going to get into right now. Not as good as an HSA, okay? But nonetheless, they're still giving you money. So you can have a cheaper FEHB plan, and they're giving you money towards your expenses. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. Okay, so who's the third category that would not do HSA or the high deductible plans? And the answer is those who can't because they're enrolled in Medicare. However, once you're enrolled in Medicare, all that means is that you're not allowed to contribute new money to your HSA, but you could still do a high deductible plan. And you could still access the old money in your HSA. You just cannot contribute the new money. Okay? Fantastic. Now, I mentioned that there are 3 people who wouldn't do the HSA over the FSA. However, there's one person who should not. Who should not do these high deductible plans with the HSA? And the answer is, it's not so common. It's not so common. But somebody here who has high recurring medical expenses, and if they were to switch to a high deductible plan, it could be that their doctor doesn't participate in that plan, in which case that doctor will now be considered out of network. Which, by the way, if your doctor participates in the Blue Cross Blue Shield regular plan, they're probably going to participate to the Blue Cross Blue Shield high deductible plan. And the same thing with GIHA. If your doctor participates in the GIHA regular plan, they're probably going to be participating in the GIHA high deductible plan. That's usually the way they work. However, let's say your doctor did not participate in the Blue Cross Blue Shield or the GIHA plan, and then you switch to Blue Cross Blue Shield or the GIHA plan, and now your doctor is considered out of network. If you have high recurring expenses that are going out of network, so then all the savings that I'm trying to save you may go out the window because you're now going to a doctor out of network, and the out of network exposures are a little bit higher than in network. So if you're in that category, so then you're right. Maybe the high deductible plan does not work for you. Okay. However, if you are staying in network, even if you have high expenses, the HSA high deductible plan would still probably benefit you. I have clients that are having babies with the high deductible plan and they're saving money. I have some diabetic clients with the high deductible plans and saving money. I even have some cancer clients. I shouldn't say some. I have a client that has cancer, and they have a high deductible plan with FEHB, and they are, believe it or not, saving money. Everything's in network. Okay, so with that being said, who shouldn't do the HSA? Those who have high recurring expenses, and if they switch their health insurance plan, their doctor may now become out of network. So if you're in that category, then I admit defeat. Then it's probably not so wonderful for you. Okay. However, if you are in network, you could be saving money, especially if you're not hitting your deductible, right? Especially if you're not hitting a deductible. So then you should definitely be doing your HSA, your high deductible HSA plan, right? If you don't hit your deductible, HSA is great for you. If you don't know the name of your primary care physician, HSA would be a slam dunk for you. Now, let me ask you guys another question. Can I do both an HSA together with an FSA? And the answer is no. You cannot do HSA with FSA, but you could do HSA with the Lex FSA. Remember that Lex FSA? we were wondering, why would someone do a Lex FSA over a regular FSA? First of all, the Lex FSA only covers dental and vision. And second of all, the Lex FSA requires a high deductible plan. Who's going to choose Lex FSA over regular FSA? I think the answer has become abundantly clear. Who's going to do Lex FSA over regular FSA? Very simple. Those who are looking at the regular FSA and comparing it to HSA. And when you see that comparison, you see that the HSA has all the advantages except for one. There is one advantage, I will admit, that the FSA has over the HSA. And by the way, the Lex FSA has the same advantage, okay? What is the advantage that the FSA and Lex FSA have over the HSA? The advantage is that the FSA money is fully available at the beginning of the year. Even if you have not made your contributions, the full amount is available at the beginning of the year. As opposed to HSA, it only becomes available once you contribute that money into the HSA account, okay? But the Lex FSA has that advantage as well. So coming back to my point is, who's going to do a Lex FSA over a regular FSA? Very simple. The person who's looking at the regular FSA and comparing it to the HSA, and when you do the comparison, you see that the HSA has all the advantages. That person who wants to do the HSA, they could do the Lex FSA over and above the HSA. So what that means is you could be contributing $9,550 into your HSA, and then you could do an additional $3,300 into your Lex FSA for dental and vision expenses. Let me be very clear about something. You're only going to do the Lex FSA if you've maxed out your HSA. So, for example, if you're going to be maxing out the $9,550 in the HSA, then you could go above and beyond that with the Lex FSA. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Okay? I hope I'm making sense in this, guys. This is an amazing, amazing tag team combination. The HSA with the Lex FSA, that is serious, serious tax savings and serious premium savings. I mean, this is an all-star combination. So, anyhow, I'm hoping you guys are understanding my point that the HSA is essentially FSA on steroids. It has all the advantages except for one. The one advantage that the FSA has is that you have access to all the FSA money at the beginning of the year, even if you have not yet made your contributions. But regarding everything else, the HSA has all the advantages. However, as I mentioned, in order to have the HSA, you must have a high deductible plan. I know it sounds scary, but guess what? If your doctor participates in that high deductible plan, which is very easy to find out, you just call them up and say, hi, you accept Blue Cross Blue Shield. Do you also accept Blue Cross Blue Shield high deductible? Or you accept GIHA. Do you also accept GIHA high deductible? And if you look at FEHB, there are other plans that also offer high deductible options as well. So if your doctor accepts those plans, there's a very good chance they're going to accept the high deductible plan option. Just verify with your doctor. If you call your doctor and you verify that, you will see that the HSA plan is really not that scary. The high deductible plan is really not that scary at all. You save money on premiums. They give you money back. You have the tax savings of the HSA, and you lower your catastrophic exposures. And you open up all the HSA benefits to you. And the HSA is something you can carry for the rest of your life. It's literally your money. You can access it in retirement, and you know what happens if you pass away? It goes to your beneficiaries. It's literally your money. This is a powerhouse instrument. So anyhow, it's open season time. I want you guys to be saving thousands of dollars, not just this year, but every year going forward. And remember, you could invest that money, so that means it could be compounding in the future. And you'll thank me many, many years from now when you too will have six figures in that HSA account of tax-free money. Any questions on what we spoke about today? Any questions? I'm looking in the chat box. Okay, so let's see in the chat box. So in the chat box, Margaret is asking, if I am the policyholder and I have an HSA, when my husband turns 65, taking Part A, will that affect anything? So Margaret, yes, it will, because instead of, let's say you have a self plus one. So if you have a self plus one, you really could be able to contribute $9,550. However, if your husband is going to be enrolled in Medicare, so then instead of you doing $9,550, which is the joint contribution amount, you can only do the single contribution amount, which is, well, what is it, $4,000, what do we say, $4,300 or $5,300, excuse me, let me back up, let me show you. 4,300 plus 1,000, so $5,300. Okay, fantastic. Charlie's asking, how much can we contribute to the Lex FSA? It's the same $3,300 as the regular FSA, the same thing. And remember that the Lex FSA, you can access all the money at the beginning of the year. And remember, there's a use or lose with the Lex FSA. Okay, just keep that in mind, just like the regular FSA. Okay. Camille is asking, will this presentation be accessible online? There is a replay link that's going to go to everybody who registered. I see Lisa's asking, I recently retired. I had a GIHA conventional plan. Can I switch to a high deductible plan with an HSA? I'm 62. Yes, Lisa. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Mallory's asking, the premiums for valuable plans seem to be higher in some places than the standard plans. Why is that? For example, the mail handler standard plan is $146 bi-weekly compared to the 100, which is $195. So Mallory, that's a great question. You have to look at the plans, but I will tell you, Mallory, even if it's more expensive, which again is good, it's a little bit unusual. Even if it's more expensive, isn't the mail handler's plan giving you back like $2,000 a year? So you're right. They may be charging you. You have to look what the difference is in numbers. But if they're giving you back that money, so then it may be that you'll be saving money. But you're right, Mallory. Look at the other cases that I gave you, the GIHA plan, and maybe some other ones as well. Alisa is asking, maybe everyone already knows this, but I have an HSA and still don't know. How do you actually invest your HSA? The plan set up the account, and then it's just sitting there. So Alisa, what's going to happen is when you sign up for a high deductible plan, and if you already have a high deductible plan with FEHB, I'm assuming you do, Alisa, right? If you have a high deductible plan, so then whether it's Care First or GIHA, whichever one you signed up with FEHB, they're going to mail you a debit card. And the debit card looks something like this. Okay, this is the debit card. By the way, do you guys see the name of the company on this card? Care First. You know what Care First plan this is? This is the Care First FEHB plan that I was just showing you before. I have the Care First high deductible plan with the HSA account. Okay. Now you may be wondering, Stefan, you're not a federal employee. How do you have access to FEHB? And the answer is, you're right. I'm not a federal employee, but my wife is. So I have access to FEHB just like you do. Just like you do. So what happens is they're going to mail you this debit card. This debit card is linked to your HSA account online. Okay. And you're going to have to log into your HSA account online. There should be login instructions. Go to this website. You might have to create a username and a password. That's pretty typical. Once you create your username and password, you're logged into your account. When you're logged into your account, there should be a menu that says invest my HSA or manage my investment, something along those lines. Okay, but Alisa, you're going to have to make sure you log in and access it. Okay, fantastic. I see Jenny is asking, where did the other $3,595 in savings come from? So Jenny, very, very simple. So if you back up in the presentation, remember, if you're participating in the HSA, FSA or HSA, you'll be saving federal tax, state tax, Social Security tax, Medicare tax, that's 37.65%. So if we do the math together, if you're contributing the maximum, which is $9,550, and you're saving 37.65%, that translates into $3,595 in tax savings. Okay, so that tax savings is above the other savings that you're already experiencing. Okay, I see Harlan is asking a question. Harlan's question is, can you talk about HSA custodians and whether or not you are stuck with the company the insurance company chooses, or you can switch? You can choose. You could switch, Harlan. You do not have to use the one that they provide you. Now, what's going to happen is, remember, the health insurance plan that you choose, they're going to give you money every month. So that money that they give you is going to go into the HSA account that they open for you. That is going to happen, and that you're not going to change. However, your contributions, you could open up a different HSA account. So it does not have to be the custodian that they provide. Anne is asking, did you say that Blue Cross Blue Shield does not have an HHP? No, so Anne, Blue Cross Blue Shield does have an HHP inside the Maryland area, the Maryland, D.C. area. However, if you're outside the Maryland, D.C. area, so then it does not. Okay, fine, fantastic, amazing. Let me go back a little bit. Okay. Philip is asking, can military retirees using TRICARE have a HSA? No, they cannot. TRICARE, you also cannot have FEH. You cannot contribute to an HSA if you have TRICARE. Okay. Fantastic, amazing, unbelievable. Okay. Anyhow, I wish you guys much blessing and success. As I mentioned at the beginning of the class, these classes, they do not happen in a vacuum. They happen because there are people that are supporting me. Those are my clients and those are my members. If you guys want to become a client or a member, the way you do so is you could request a meeting with me, and I will tell you exactly about what it's like to work together. And I'm going to send you my email address in the chat box. Here it comes. Here it comes in the chat box. 1, 2, 3, and bang! That's my email address. So anybody here is interested in a complimentary consult, which, by the way, if you're interested in a consult, I could get together with you guys in January time. Okay, so I can't do it in December, but in January time. So if you're interested in that complimentary consult, do me a favor, grab that email address and quickly send me an email. This way we can get you into the schedule for next year. Okay, send me that email. Also, let me remind you guys, for those who have not heard, I am giving a 2-day pre-retirement class next week. Is there anybody in this room that wants to spend 2 days with me next week and talk about retirement, the full panoramic of retirement? Federal pensions, survivor benefits, Social Security, TSB, right? It's going to be a real juicy class. So if anybody here is interested in joining me for a couple of days next week, you should also send me an email, and I'll show you how to get signed up. Obviously, we're very limited in time to close out the registration of the class. So if anybody here is interested in participating in that class next week, do yourselves a favor and send me that email, and we could get you signed up as quickly as you can. Obviously, it's a 2-day class, so there's going to be a registration involved. I'll send you all the information that you need. Do me a favor, send me an email. But again, even if you're not coming to next week's class, you could still work with me. You could still become a member. You could become a client, and I would love to work with you guys going forward. But until we connect again, I want to wish you guys blessing and success, especially this open season. I hope you guys choose wisely and make a very valuable choice. And I also want to wish you a happy holiday season. We have Thanksgiving coming up. We have the holidays at the end of the year coming up as well. And we also have a 2025. We're looking forward to a happening 2025. So wish you all blessing and success. Don't be strangers. Keep in touch. All the best, everybody. All the best.